Me Ryan, 32. Engineer, decent salary, boring office park, the kind of job where the highlight of the week is when someone brings donuts. Married to Ashley for 4 years, together 6. Own a house in the suburbs, bought it 2 years before I even met her. 2 cars, both paid off, mostly because I drive a 10-year-old sedan and refuse to replace it. This is the part of the story where most guys would tell you they had it good. I thought I had it good. Turns out I was the only one keeping that opinion alive. Started noticing things around the time we hit the 3-year mark of marriage. Nothing dramatic at first. She stopped reaching for my hand at the grocery store. Then she stopped kissing me when I came home from work. Then she started keeping her phone face down at dinner. Asked her once if everything was okay. Got the standard "I'm just tired" answer. Nodded, dropped it, made her tea, went back to fixing the garage door. Fast forward a few months. Ashley starts hanging out more with her friend Vanessa. Vanessa was on her 2nd divorce at this point. 3rd time crashing on our couch in a single quarter. Every time she left, Ashley would be a little colder for about a week. I thought it was because Vanessa was venting and bringing her down. I would later learn that Vanessa was not venting. She was training. Around this same period, Ashley got really into podcasts. Headphones on at dinner, headphones on in the car, headphones on while folding laundry. Asked her once what she was listening to. She pulled one earbud out, looked at me like I had asked her to explain calculus, said it was stuff I wouldn't get. Cool, that's fine. Podcasts are personal. Walked away, made dinner, kept it moving. That became kind of a theme. Asking a question and being told I wouldn't understand the answer. So I stopped asking. Then she started going to a therapist, which I fully supported, by the way. Told her therapy is a good thing. Take care of yourself, do whatever you need. Paid for the sessions out of our joint account without ever mentioning it. She started coming home from those appointments with new vocabulary. Emotional labor, weaponized incompetence, the mental load, male default behavior. I had never heard any of these phrases before in my life, but somehow I was apparently committing all of them simultaneously. At one point I asked her if she could give me an example of weaponized incompetence on my part. I genuinely wanted to understand. I was washing the dishes when I asked. She said, "The fact that you're asking is the example." Okay then. Kept washing the dishes. The bedroom side of things had been slowing down for a while. I'm not going to get into the details because that's not what this is about. But it had gone from normal married life to once a month to basically never. Every time I tried to be affectionate in any way, even just an arm around her on the couch, she would shift. Not say anything, just shift. Move my arm, scoot over, get up and grab water she didn't want. So I stopped reaching out. Figured I'd let her come to me when she was ready. Spoiler, that day never came. One evening, I was making dinner. She was on the couch with Vanessa. Caught a piece of their conversation as I was putting plates down. Vanessa was saying something about how her ex never appreciated what she carried. Ashley was nodding along, saying mine doesn't either. I just stood there holding the salad bowl. She didn't even know I was right there. Put the bowl down and went back to the kitchen. Didn't say anything. That was probably the first time I felt the floor shift under me. Asked her later that night, after Vanessa left, if there was something we needed to talk about. She said no. Said everything was fine. Said I was being paranoid. Said I always need reassurance, and it's exhausting. Laid in bed that night, staring at the ceiling for about 3 hours. Got up, went to the couch, slept there. Nobody mentioned it the next morning. This kept up for a while. I'd say a couple more months. Around the same period, work picked up. I had a big project at the office, which meant longer hours. I was the lead engineer on the team, and the contract had real money attached to it. I came home most nights around 8. sometimes 9. She had usually already eaten. She had usually already started a movie or a show without me. I would come in, drop my bag, microwave whatever was in the fridge, eat at the counter while she watched her thing in the living room. She never paused it when I came in. Not even once. After about 3 weeks of this, I mentioned, lightly, that it would be nice if we sat down together for dinner once in a while, even if it was late. She said she couldn't be expected to eat on my schedule. Said I was being controlling about meals. I said okay. Started bringing dinner from a place near the office and eating it in the car before I got home. At least the car didn't have anyone in it telling me I was controlling. I picked up more of the chores to try to ease whatever burden she was talking about. Started cooking 5 nights a week instead of 4. Took over laundry entirely. Handled all the finances, which I already did anyway. Scheduled her dentist appointments because she said scheduling was draining. Bought her flowers on a random weekday because I read somewhere that random gestures matter more than planned ones. She looked at the flowers and said, "Are you trying to get something?" Told her no, just wanted to bring you something. She said okay and put them on the counter. They sat there until they died. She never put them in a vase. I threw them out when they started dropping petals on the floor. Around this time, our anniversary came up, 4th year. Planned a whole evening. Made a reservation at the place we went to on our 2nd date. Called ahead to make sure they still made the dessert she used to love. They did. Got a sitter for the dog, picked up her favorite wine, the whole thing. Night of the dinner, she comes downstairs, looks at me in the suit, and says, "Oh, was tonight the night? I told Vanessa she could come over." Told her it was fine. Vanessa can come over any night. This was our anniversary. She got quiet. Then she said the thing that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. She said, "Ryan, I think we need to talk about how affection works in this relationship." I sat down on the stairs in my suit. Just sat down. She pulled out her phone, which I later realized had notes on it. Her therapist had apparently helped her prepare for this conversation, which is funny because I had not been invited. But okay. She explained in a very calm corporate voice that affection is not a default in healthy adult relationships, that it needs to be earned, that right now I had not earned it. Asked her what earning it looked like. She said it was hard to define, but I would know it when I started doing it. Asked her if there was a list. She actually paused. Then she said yes, and pulled it up on her phone. A list, typed out, numbered. I have never in my life felt the floor go out from under me the way it did when I saw that list. Not going to repeat the items, because honestly, half of them I have already done my whole life. But the gist was that until I could prove emotional presence and reduce my default male energy in our home, physical and emotional affection would be something I had to work toward, not something we shared. I sat there in my anniversary suit, looking at a corporate slide deck of how to earn my own wife's attention. Said, okay. Said I'd try. Went upstairs, changed into normal clothes, called the restaurant, canceled the reservation, ate cereal at the counter while she watched a documentary in the living room with Vanessa, who showed up about an hour later. Nobody said happy anniversary to me. Not even me. I lay in bed that night doing this thing I sometimes do, where I rewind the entire relationship in my head, looking for the moment something broke. I couldn't find one. That bothered me more than anything else. If there had been a single big moment, I could have pointed at it. But there wasn't. It had just been small things, one after another, until it had become a different marriage entirely. So I tried. I really did. I am not proud of this part, because looking back, I cannot believe how far I went. I cooked even more. Stopped seeing my friends for poker on Thursday nights. I had been playing poker with the same 4 guys since college. Told them I had to take a break. They understood. They had all been married at some point. 2 of them were divorced. They understood with the specific kind of look that I would understand later. Stopped going fishing with my dad on weekends. My dad asked me why. Told him Ashley needed more presence at home. He just nodded and said, "Okay, son, you do what you need to do." He didn't push, which I appreciated at the time. Looking back, I think he already knew where this was going. He had seen it before. Signed up for an online course on active listening because Ashley sent me the link. Read 2 books that her therapist apparently recommended. Started journaling, which I still think is weird, but whatever. I tried. And every single time I tried, the bar moved. Cooked a nice dinner. You only did it so I'd owe you something. Listened to her vent for an hour. You were listening to respond, not to hear. Did the laundry, folded it, put it away. Performative domestic labor, that's manipulation. Asked her how her day was. You only ask so you can do the bare minimum and feel like a hero. I kid you not, those are paraphrases of actual things she said to me over a period of about 3 months. At no point did anything I do count as having earned anything. The goalposts didn't just move. They were on a treadmill. One night, I tried something different. I just sat with her on the couch and didn't do anything. Didn't ask anything. Didn't reach for the remote. Didn't reach for her. Just sat there. After about 10 minutes, she looked at me and asked what I was doing. Told her I was just being present. She said it felt aggressive. Actually used the word aggressive. Said me sitting silently next to her was a form of pressure. So I got up and went to the garage, turned on a podcast about woodworking, and sanded a piece of pine for an hour, just to do something with my hands that nobody could tell me was wrong. Another time, on a Saturday, I asked if she wanted to go for a walk. Nice day out. Dog hadn't had a proper walk in a while. She said walks were scheduled intimacy, and she wasn't in the mood for a performative coupledom. Took the dog by myself, walked for 2 hours. Came back, she was on the couch with Vanessa, who had let herself in with the spare key. I had not given Vanessa a spare key. Ashley had, without telling me. I asked Ashley about it later that night. She said the spare key was a household resource, and I was being possessive about access to my own home. I went and changed the front lock the next morning before work. Did not tell her I had changed it. Did not give Vanessa a new key. Ashley noticed about a week later when Vanessa tried to let herself in and couldn't. Got an angry text from Vanessa. Did not reply. Ashley confronted me about it that night. Told her the lock was old, and I had been meaning to replace it, which was technically true. I had been meaning to replace it for about 7 days. She did not buy that explanation, but she also could not really argue with it. That was, in retrospect, the first time I'd pushed back on anything in over a year. It felt strange. Strange in a good way. I started losing weight. Not on purpose. Just stopped having an appetite. I dropped close to 15 pounds without really noticing until my belt buckle was on a new hole. My mother called one Sunday and asked if I was sick. Told her no, just a busy work stretch. She didn't believe me, but she didn't push either. My mom has always known when to wait me out. My coworker Steve noticed too. Steve is 40-something, divorced about 2 years now, sits across from me at lunch most days. Steve eats like a normal person. I had been eating a sad salad for about a week straight. Steve put his fork down one day, looked at me and said, "Ryan, I know that face. I had that face. You're paying rent on a house where the lights got turned off 6 months ago. The bill just keeps coming. You're going to keep paying it until you decide not to." Told him it wasn't that bad. He said, "Okay," in the way that means it is exactly that bad. Then he said one more thing. He said, "When you finally check out, don't negotiate. Just leave. Negotiating is how you end up back inside paying rent on a darker house." Laughed it off. but I wrote that line down later. Not in the journal Ashley wanted me to keep, a different one. Steve and I started having lunch together more often after that. He never pushed for details, just talked about normal stuff. His daughter was applying to colleges. He was dating again, casually, nothing serious. He told me one afternoon, out of nowhere, that the hardest part of his own divorce wasn't the divorce. It was the year before, when he was still trying to fix something that was already broken. He said he had spent more energy in that 1 year than in the entire decade of marriage that came before. He said the moment he stopped trying, everything got quieter. Not better right away, just quieter. And quiet was the first step toward being okay. I didn't say much during that lunch, just listened. But I remember thinking, riding back to the office, that quiet sounded really good. Around this time, I started noticing Vanessa was at our house an absurd amount, like 4 nights a week. She had her own glass in our cabinet. She had a blanket folded on our couch with her name basically on it. She drank wine from my wine rack, which I had been collecting bottles for since before I even met Ashley. One bottle in particular, a gift from my late grandfather, was missing. Asked Ashley about it. She said Vanessa had needed something nice that week because she was going through a hard time. Told her that bottle was from my grandfather. She said I was being possessive about objects. Dropped it. I should not have dropped it, but I dropped it. One evening I came home from work, groceries in both hands, heard Ashley on the phone in the bedroom. Door was cracked. She was talking to her mother. I should not have stopped to listen, but I did. She said Vanessa thinks I'm settling. She said maybe she's right. She said she didn't know if she had ever really been in love with me or if she had just been comfortable. I stood in the hallway holding 2 bags of groceries for what felt like a really long time. Finally walked into the kitchen, put the groceries away, made dinner, called her down. We ate. Asked how her day was. She said fine. I said mine was fine too. That was the entire dinner conversation. That night I did not sleep. Not because I was angry, just because something in my head had clicked off. I lay there next to her and felt nothing. No sadness, no rage, no longing. Just the very calm, very flat feeling of someone realizing the meeting they were preparing for has already been canceled and nobody told them. Got up around 4 a.m, went to the kitchen, made coffee, opened my laptop, pulled up our finances, pulled up the deed to the house, pulled up the prenup. Yes, we had a prenup. Steve had made me get one before the wedding. I had argued with him about it at the time. Steve, she's not like that. Famous last words. But I had signed it anyway because Steve was insistent, and I respected him. That prenup turned out to be the single most important document in my adult life. The house was mine, bought before the marriage, kept in my name. My retirement was protected. My savings were protected. Her car was hers. My car was mine. The joint account was split evenly, which was actually less than half because I put more in. Sat at the kitchen table looking at all of this around 5 a.m. The sun was not even up yet. Made a list of my own. Not a list of what she needed to do. A list of what I needed to do. Open a new personal checking account. Move my direct deposit. Contact a lawyer Steve had recommended a year ago. Cancel my half of streaming subscriptions. Back up all of my personal files. Pack 1 bag of essentials and put it in the trunk of my car just in case. And then, at the bottom of the list, the most important item. Stop trying to earn anything. Closed the laptop, put the cup in the sink, went upstairs, showered, dressed, kissed her on the forehead while she slept, and went to work. That morning, at work, I called the lawyer. He had an opening that afternoon. Took a long lunch. Met with him in a small office that smelled like old paper and coffee. He asked a lot of questions. I had brought a folder with the prenup, the deed, our tax returns, account statements, everything organized by tab. He flipped through it for about 10 minutes, looked up, said, Ryan, I have to be honest with you. This is the cleanest case I've seen come across my desk in a long time. You have done everything right. I didn't feel proud. I felt sad. Because I had only done everything right, because, deep down, some part of me had known years ago that I might need to. By the end of that day, everything on my list was either done or scheduled. Felt nothing. I want to be honest about that. Didn't feel triumphant. Didn't feel free. Felt the way you feel when you finally turn off a beeping smoke alarm that has been going off for so long you stopped noticing it. Just quiet. That's all. Quiet. Came home that night. Made dinner only for myself. She came down, saw one plate on the counter, asked what she was supposed to eat, told her, make whatever you want. Didn't say it mean, just said it, like the answer to any other normal question. She stared at me for a second, then went to the fridge, made a sandwich, didn't say anything else. We ate in different rooms, and that was the start of it. Over the next couple of weeks, I just stopped reaching for affection, stopped asking how her day was, stopped buying her wine on the way home from the store, started going to poker again. The guys at the table did not say anything about my return, just dealt me in like I had never left. That is what real friendship looks like, by the way. No questions, no speeches, just a chair already pulled out for you. I lost $200 that first night and walked out of there feeling better than I had in a year. Called my dad and told him I was coming fishing that weekend. He said, "Okay, son, glad to hear it," and hung up before I could feel weird about it. We sat in his boat for 6 hours and barely spoke. He made coffee on a little propane burner and handed me a cup. Around hour 4, he said, without looking at me, "You doing okay at home?" I said no. He said okay. That was the whole conversation. He didn't ask for details. He didn't offer advice. He just sat there with me in the boat. I will never forget that. Started lifting at the gym after work 3 times a week. Not to look good, just to feel like my body belonged to me again. Started cooking the kinds of things I actually like, which is mostly steak and roasted vegetables, none of which she ate. I was polite. I was respectful. I greeted her in the morning. I said good night before bed. I paid my share of every bill on time. I did not engage in any fight she tried to start. I was, for all intents and purposes, a really good roommate. She did not know what to do with this. At first, she actually seemed pleased. Told Vanessa I was finally giving her space. I overheard that one, too. The walls in that house are thinner than she thinks. After about 10 days, the mood shifted. She started leaving dishes in the sink. I would wash mine and leave hers. She started leaving laundry in the hallway. I would step over it. She started making comments about how the house felt cold. I would say, "Yeah, it does. I'll grab a sweater." Then came the test ultimatum. That's what I call it now. At the time, I didn't know it was the rehearsal for a bigger one. She said we needed to talk about the trash. I had stopped taking out the trash because I wasn't generating most of it. She said I was being childish. I said she was probably right. I said she could figure out a system that worked for her. I went out to the garage to organize my tools, which I had been neglecting for a long time. She did not know what to do with that. I heard her on the phone with Vanessa later. Vanessa told her to give me an ultimatum. Vanessa said, "They always crack on the ultimatum. Mine did." Vanessa did not mention that her husband had cracked by leaving and never coming back, but Ashley would learn that part later. About a week after that, dinner. She had cooked, which was rare. Some kind of pasta. I sat down, said thank you, ate. Halfway through, she put her fork down. She said, "Ryan, this isn't working. Either you start putting in real emotional work in this marriage, or I'm done." Chewed. Swallowed. Took a sip of water. I said, "Okay." I said, "You're done." I said it the same way you would say, "Okay, sounds good," if someone told you they were leaving the office early. She sat there with her mouth slightly open. She did not expect that. She really, truly did not expect that. Got up, went upstairs, came back down with a duffel bag that I had quietly packed about 3 weeks earlier. It was her duffel bag, with some of her things in it. Nothing important, just enough to make a point. Set it by the front door. Went back to the table, finished my pasta, said thank you again for cooking, and went to the garage. She stood in the doorway after a few minutes. Asked me what I thought I was doing. Told her I wasn't doing anything. Told her she had said she was done. I had agreed. Asked her where she was going to stay tonight. She said this was her house. I said calmly that it was not. I said the house was bought before the marriage, in my name, and that there was a prenup. Her face changed. She had forgotten about the prenup. She had signed it 4 years ago in a lawyer's office with a smile because at the time she had thought, this is so sweet that he's being responsible. Had a copy in the file cabinet in the garage. Did not show it to her that night. Just told her it existed. She didn't move for a long time. She called her mother. Could hear pieces of it through the wall. Her mother apparently did not say what she was hoping. I had always liked her mother. Her mother had told her, more than once over the years, that she was lucky. Her mother had said it to me too. Her mother knew. Called Vanessa next. Vanessa apparently did not pick up. Vanessa had a new boyfriend by this point. Vanessa was busy. Ashley sat on the couch for about 2 hours, made myself a cup of coffee, said good night, and went to the guest room. I had moved into the guest room 2 days earlier. She had not noticed. Over the next week, things got loud, not in the way you'd think. Nobody yelled, but the silence got loud. She tried a few different angles. Angle 1 was to act like everything was normal. Came down one morning, said good morning, asked if I wanted eggs, said, no thank you, I already ate. I had already eaten. I had started getting up an hour earlier to avoid morning overlap. Angle 2 was apology. She said she had been under a lot of stress at work. She said her therapist had been giving her bad advice. She said she had let Vanessa influence her too much. I said I appreciated her saying that. I said it didn't change anything. She asked what I meant, told her I had filed. I had filed 3 days earlier. Papers were already being processed. Her face went white. She sat down on the bottom stair. She said, you don't get to do this without warning me. I said she had been warning me for over a year. I had just finally started listening. Angle 3 was the dinner. She set up a whole evening, cooked, candles, wine, dressed up. I came home from work, saw the setup, took my shoes off, walked past it into the kitchen, made a sandwich, sat at the counter eating it. She stood in the dining room in a nice outfit waiting. After about 10 minutes, she came into the kitchen and asked me if I was even going to try. Told her, very calmly, that I had not earned this. Used her own words back to her. Did not say it to be cruel. Said it because it was the simplest, truest sentence available. She stared at me for a long time. Then she sat down on the kitchen floor. Actually sat down. On the tile. In her dress. She cried. I will be honest, that part was hard. I am not a robot. I had loved her for a long time. Watching her sit on the floor in a nice outfit and cry was one of the worst things I have ever sat through. But I did not move to comfort her, because I had finally understood something. Comforting her in that moment would have restarted everything. It would have been deposited as evidence that I would always come back. And then we'd be back at the list within a month. So I sat at the counter and finished my sandwich. Then I went upstairs. I heard her get up off the floor about 20 minutes later. After that, she stopped trying with me. She started trying with everyone else. Before that happened, though, there was one more attempt that I should mention. She came home one evening with a bottle of wine and a sort of nervous energy, poured 2 glasses, set one in front of me at the table, said she had been thinking, said maybe she had been too harsh, said maybe the list had been a mistake, said she wanted to start over, said her therapist had brought up individual growth, and she now realized she had been pushing me too hard. I sat there listening, did not touch the wine. When she finished, I said thank you for telling me that. I said I appreciated her being honest. I said it didn't change anything. She asked why. Told her the simplest version I could think of. Told her I had stopped wanting to be in this marriage somewhere along the way, and I hadn't even noticed when. Told her this wasn't anger. Told her this wasn't punishment. Told her I just didn't have anything left to give to it. She sat there for a while. Then she said, "You have someone else, don't you?" And that was the moment I knew nothing she said for the rest of the conversation was going to be honest. Because there was no one else. There had never been anyone else. I had not even looked at another woman in a meaningful way the entire time we were married, but she could not picture a version of me leaving that didn't involve another woman. That told me more about her than anything she had said in the previous year. Told her there was no one else. Told her I just wanted out. She stood up, took both wine glasses, dumped them in the sink, and went to bed. I sat at the table for another hour, then washed the glasses, then went to the guest room. She called our mutual friends, told them I had snapped, told them I had been emotionally cold for months, told them I had become a different person. She didn't know that some of those mutual friends had seen the dinner table on our anniversary night. She didn't know that one of them had asked her in private, months earlier, why she was treating me the way she was. She didn't know that her version of the story was not landing the way she expected. At a group dinner about a month into all of this, with mutual friends, she tried to spin it again. One of the women in the group, who had known us both for years, put her wine glass down and said, "Ashley, you told him affection had to be earned. He agreed. He stopped trying to earn it. That's literally what you asked for. What is he supposed to be doing wrong here?" Nobody at the table said anything. Ashley left early that night. I stayed for another hour. That was the first time in a long time that I felt like a person sitting in a chair instead of an applicant in an interview. Two of the guys at the table caught me alone on the way out. One of them, who I had known for over a decade, gave me a hug. He said, "We knew, man. We just didn't know how to say it. We're glad you're okay." That one hit me harder than I expected. Sat in my car in the parking lot for 10 minutes before I could drive home. Not crying, just sitting. I want to be clear about something. I never went after her. I never told people her business. I never posted anything online. I did not bring up Vanessa. I did not bring up the list. I did not bring up the anniversary dinner. I just answered honestly when people asked, in short sentences, and changed the subject. That was actually more damaging to her than anything I could have invented, because people filled in the blanks themselves. I ran into Vanessa about 2 months into the separation. At a grocery store of all places. She was alone. Looked rougher than I remembered. The new boyfriend had apparently not stuck around. She saw me, lit up like we were old friends, started walking over to ask how I was doing, nodded at her, said hi, and kept walking. Not rude, just done. I did not look back. I do not know if she said anything else. I assume she did. Didn't care enough to check. The divorce moved quickly. No kids, prenup intact, house clearly mine, separate finances, mostly separate. Her lawyer tried for spousal support. My lawyer pointed out that she was a working professional with her own career and her own income. That was the end of that conversation. She got the contents of her closet, her car, her half of the joint account, and a settlement that was less than she was hoping for, but more than she was technically entitled to, because I did not want to be petty. My lawyer actually asked me if I was sure about that number. He said most guys in my position would not have offered that much. Told him I just wanted it to be over. Told him I did not want to spend the next 5 years remembering a number I should have lowered. He respected that, signed the papers in his office, handed them back across the desk, walked out into the parking lot, sat in my car for a few minutes, did not feel relieved, did not feel anything in particular, just drove home, made dinner, watched a hockey game, went to bed. She moved into a one-bedroom about 15 minutes away, heard through mutual friends that she was back in therapy. New topic, apparently. Her therapist was helping her work through abandonment issues. I am not making that up. That is what she told one of our friends. The same therapist who had helped her draft the list was now helping her process the consequences of the list. I would have laughed if it weren't so sad. Vanessa and Ashley stopped speaking about 3 months in. I don't know exactly what happened. Heard a piece of it, secondhand, that they had a falling out over who gave who bad advice. Each of them apparently blamed the other for how their lives had turned out. That was the part that hit me the hardest, honestly. Not in a good way, just in a sad way. 2 grown women who had spent years coaching each other into being miserable, now blaming each other for the misery. I did not feel triumphant about it, just felt tired. About 4 months in, I had a weird moment. Was at the grocery store, in the wine aisle, and I caught myself reaching for a bottle she used to like. Complete autopilot. I had not bought wine for myself in maybe 10 years, just always grabbed something she'd enjoy. I stood there with the bottle in my hand and realized I had no idea what kind of wine I actually preferred. None. I had no preferences of my own. I had been buying her wine for so long that my own taste had stopped existing. Put the bottle back. Walked over to a different shelf and grabbed something I had never tried. Turned out it was decent. That was the moment, honestly, that hit me harder than anything that happened during the divorce itself. Not the list, not the dinner on the floor, not the lawyer's office. Standing in a grocery store wine aisle, realizing I had quietly disappeared into someone else's preferences for years. I bought one more bottle just to have options at home. Called Steve on the way back to the car, just to say hey. He picked up, said, "What's up?" I said nothing, just wanted to say thanks for the prenup thing all those years ago. He laughed, said, "You're welcome. Now buy me a beer." I bought him several. 6 months out, I am writing this from my garage. Same garage, same house. The dog is asleep in the corner. Steve is supposed to come over later with a 6-pack. My dad and I have a fishing trip booked for next weekend. Started seeing a counselor of my own just to make sure I'm processing this in a healthy way, because I don't want to be the bitter divorced guy at the bar in 5 years. That counselor, by the way, is a man in his 50s with 2 grown kids and what seems like a stable marriage. He doesn't give me a list. He asks me what I want. I'm still figuring out the answer. That's okay. I have time. Not interested in dating right now. Might be eventually. Not in a hurry. I have not checked her social media once. Not even once. I deleted the apps that would have made it easy. I have not asked anyone how she's doing. Am not rooting for her to fail. Am not rooting for her to win. I genuinely do not have an opinion about her life anymore. And I think that is the part that would surprise her the most if she ever found out, that I just stopped thinking about her. Last week, I painted the inside of the house, a color she had vetoed about 3 years ago because it was too masculine. Ooh. Turned out it looks great, kind of a deep gray-green. The dog likes it too, probably. He hasn't complained. I bought a new couch, got rid of the one Vanessa used to sleep on, donated it to a shelter, actually. I figured someone could get more use out of it. Also bought a record player, of all things. I had always wanted one. She had always said they were pretentious. Turns out, sitting in my living room with a record on and a beer in my hand on a quiet evening is one of the best feelings in the world. My mom came over to see the new paint a few weekends ago. She walked through every room without saying a word, finally sat down at the kitchen table and asked if I had eaten. I said yes. She said, "You look like yourself again, Ryan." That one almost got me. Almost. I held it together because moms can tell when you're holding it together, and that's its own kind of conversation. One thing I want to add, because it surprised me. The dog. I had been worried about the dog this whole time. He had been around her his whole life. I figured he might be confused, withdrawn, off his food. None of that happened. Within about 2 weeks of her leaving, he was sleeping at the foot of my bed every night. He had never done that before. He had always slept in his bed by the closet, but now he just walked in around 10 every night, jumped up, circled twice, and dropped. I asked the vet about it at his next checkup. Vet shrugged, said dogs are honest in ways people aren't. He said dogs pick up on tension in a house and adjust accordingly. Said the dog might have been waiting a long time for things to settle down. That one stuck with me for a while. The dog had been waiting too. Nobody had asked him either. She told me affection had to be earned. I agreed. Then I decided I didn't want to apply for the job anymore. Turns out the position was harder to fill than she thought. That's it. That's the whole story. Thanks for reading.